Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. While staying till the end would have been hilarious, this guy sounds like the kind that would then assault OP for making me do this. Perfectly handled, I think. And remember, never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Want to beat the crap out of your own car? Well, okay then. A few weeks ago, I found myself parked next to a car that was, as far as I could tell, identical to mine. Same make, Subaru, model, Outback, color, muddy green, and probably same year, although I'm not an expert. Close enough, probably. It's a popular car. I pass them all the time. My car has a largish parking lot ding on the driver's side rear door panel. No idea how it got there. Probably some kid opened his door a little too quickly, forcefully, and smacked into my car. These things happen. No need to get worked up about it. I'd been meaning to get it fixed, and I'm a little sorry that I didn't do it because it would have saved the idiot a lot of grief. Self-inflicted grief, to be sure, but still. Enter the idiot. Bog standard middle American dad. Nothing special about him. We're both exiting the Walmart with full carts, and he's about 100 feet ahead of me. As we approach, I'm thinking it looks like he's heading in the same direction. I even plan on jokingly saying, "nice car," in Subaru solidarity, but I'll not get that opportunity. I should mention here that I've already clicked my clicker to unlock the door. It'll be important later. Kinda wish I hadn't, to be honest. That would have spared the idiot some grief too. This is the point where the idiot notices the large ding on his car's door, and he takes offense at that. To be fair, that ding is pretty ugly. The paint's gone where the tip or something from whatever hit it was centered, and there's a scratch leading off to one side. I think it kinda looks like a spoon in the middle of a small/shallow cereal bowl. So anyway, he gets really mad, like screaming things like "son of a b" and "it's a effing brand new car" and stuff. I think he looked up at the windshield hoping to find a note or something, but this all happened so fast that my brain might be making up details to fit into some of the blank spots. I've actually slowed down a bit now because it's uncomfortable being around really angry people. And to be honest, I was super confused about what was going on. For a second, I actually forgot which car was whose. It didn't make any sense for him to be hopping mad about my car having a dent. I think my brain was going, wow, two exactly same cars getting huge parking lot dings in them? What are the odds? But you know that weird twisting feeling when you reorient yourself from the confusion and snap back to reality? That happened. I realized he had made the same mistake that I made, and so I did what anyone would naturally do. I called out, "Hey, it's okay, that's my car." Which backfired. Spectacularly. The idiot must have thought that I meant, "That's my car's door that smacked into yours," which only made him madder. He started yelling things like, "What the F?" and more of, "It's a effing brand new car," and more of the same. I tried to explain, not exactly easy from a distance, and definitely a lot harder when someone's raging at you. And that's when he opened the driver's side rear door on my car, i.e. the one with the large ding, and then he slammed it into his car. Hard. It made a dent. Took a little paint off the edge of my door too, but I didn't notice that until later. So at that point I yelled, "Hey, stop that," which only made him more upset because he responded with, "Oh, you don't like that? Shut the F up," or words to that effect. I'm paraphrasing here. So I guess in a nutshell, that's my malicious compliance. I did exactly what he said. Shut the F up and let him slam my car door into his car a couple more times, and I let him try to kick it too. There wasn't enough room between the two cars for a good Chuck Norris roundhouse, so he had to be satisfied with a weak sauce knee to the rear quarter panel. But kudos for trying, idiot. You gave it your best shot. I wish I was some kind of heroic Viking warrior who could come to the defense of his property, but my flabby butt wimpy dad bod isn't up to a fight in the Walmart parking lot, so I backed my cart full of ice cream and frozen tater tots right the F out of there and started booking it back to Walmart, intending to ask for help from a security guard. I sincerely regret that because I didn't get to see the moment when the scales fell from the idiot's eyes and he realized that he had been beating the crap out of his own car. I can only imagine it was one of the most epic epiphanies of his angry life. And to compound my disappointment, he exited the parking lot in the opposite direction, preventing me from seeing the extent of the damage he'd done. I didn't get to applaud either. The whole episode took maybe 5 minutes tops, probably less, but aside from a little lost paint on the edge of my door, that was probably going to have to be replaced anyway, I was fine. Him, not so much. I would have alternated clicking my fob block and unlock buttons until the man baby realized what was going on, while looking him in the eyes with a "Are you done?" expression on my face, of course. And our second story. How I turned spot checks into an absurd art form. Here's an old story from my time in the Navy. I was stationed on a ship in the Navy, and part of my job was to perform 3M, maintenance and material management, maintenance, which just included things like inspecting and performing preventative maintenance on doors, hatches, fire extinguishers, etc. It wasn't hard work, so as a result, people didn't really treat it all that seriously when doing it, skipping steps and taking shortcuts when it wouldn't really matter to a normal person. This was also how I was taught to do it at first when I started. Then, after I started getting some experience, my chief, boss, started having me do spot checks. This was how it began. I did the maintenance item as I normally do, making sure I didn't accidentally skip anything, but at one point I forgot to put on goggles when handling some silicone jelly. This resulted in an automatic safety failure on the spot check and a reaming from my chief. He told me that he wanted me to follow all the rules, no matter how ridiculous that I pointed out that they were. So that's what I started doing. The next spot check, I put on the goggles at the beginning, never removing them even when they fogged up and doubled up on nitrile gloves. I passed, and the chief said that's what he wanted to see, so I started doing even more. I printed out every piece of paperwork on every tool required for the job, ordered pristine tools for all maintenance items so I could have the receipts to prove them, familiarized myself with every NSTM, Naval Ships Technical Manual, and printed out multiple copies, highlighting the applicable sections, printed out both the fleet-wide and ship-wide manuals on controlling hazardous materials, printed out all applicable MSDS sheets, and had all 3M procedures printed out and ready to go. I organized them all into different folders ready to grab and go to any spot check at a moment's notice. After that, I got really good at spot checks, so good that people would go out of their way to watch how I would maliciously comply with every rule during my spot checks. I would pull out my pristine tools with receipts still attached to prove against the paperwork that they were the correct and exact tools called out in the procedure, wear the appropriate PPE, personal protective equipment, spelled out in the MSDS, hazardous material guides or procedure, sometimes needing to double up when multiple different types are called out, pull out NSTMs and have additional steps that aren't included in the procedure on how to perform certain actions and go through them step by step, and follow the ridiculous disposal requirements for benign materials simply because they were technically hazmat. Finally, after passing every spot check for over a year with this method, a 3M fleet guy came to do a ship-wide inspection, and I was the guy that was specifically chosen to do a spot check for him in my department. During the inspection, I went through my pristine tool set answering all questions with printed out paperwork, and the guy was very obviously trying to stump me on something. He even called me out saying that I don't do this on all my other spot checks, at which point my chief and a couple of observers who wanted to watch said that I did. I started measuring out the detergent soap required with my pristine measuring cup, way more than was really needed for the job, then filling up the rest of the bucket 2/3 of the way with water, since the water amount could be approximated, 3 gallons of water in a 5-gallon bucket, and the inspector seemed particularly irked that I measured out the soap for a non-measured amount of water. I wore 2 sets of different gloves since what was called out in the procedure was different than what was needed on the MSDS, double-bagged the detergent water, the detergent was considered hazmat, in a trash bag with a specific label on it since that's how to dispose of hazmat in the ship-wide hazmat procedure, and as a finisher I used bar soap that I checked out from hazmat to wash my hands with gloves on per the ship-wide hazmat handling procedure, then to wash my hands without gloves with the liquid soap in the bathroom since I handled hazmat per the fleet hazmat handling procedure. The inspector just got frustrated and left, leaving me as one of the few passing departments on the ship and possibly the only one that he was not able to get me on anything. And our next story. Someone's living on my property. I inherited a piece of land, about 10 acres, in California about 10 years ago from a relative and held on to it hoping I can build a house there someday. The property is vacant and mostly covered in woods, somewhat secluded. 5 years ago, I moved to Texas and have only seen the property twice since then. It's been 3 years since my last visit. Recently, I had a friend check the property while on a business trip, and to his and my surprise, there are a group of squatters living there. He sent me pictures, and it looks like they have 5 campers, some tents, and a ton of junk spread everywhere. What's worse is it appears they've cut down some large trees and are using them for firewood and have dug a large hole in the ground for no apparent reason. He walked around a bit before being confronted and chased off by one of the squatters. I've investigated some more and called some neighbors. According to them, the group has lived there for almost 2 years now, and at one point was even larger. So I called the sheriff and explained the situation, also talked to a lawyer about the relative adverse possession laws and eviction process. I still had to visit the site. Immediately after the squatters were evicted, I started building a high fence. I also asked my friend to keep an eye on the area from time to time. And our last story. Turning the tables. How I built a hog farm to get sweet revenge on my neighbor. When my dad built our home, he had to sign a covenant with the people living nearby, specifically this one guy who lives a few miles away. It's supposed to be an agreement so that you can't do something like start a hog farm or a trailer park on your land, as that would apparently affect property values. Anyhow, this is on the Gulf Coast. When Katrina hit, it wrecked my aunt's home, destroying a lot of what she owned. My parents helped her buy a nice big trailer and move it to our backyard. And wouldn't you know it, in the aftermath of this incredible disaster, that guy invokes the covenant to make them get rid of that trailer. Wouldn't want to lower property values now, would we? All other considerations aside, you would think this guy would say, oh, a major disaster and a person without a home? Yeah, I can let the rules slide right now. But no. Fortunately, the covenant must not have applied to FEMA trailers, so she was able to get one of those, much smaller than what she would have had, and stayed with us a while. And ever since I heard the story and the covenant has expired, I seized the chance for revenge. Starting a hog farm became my unconventional and legal way to use the land. Good planning, top-notch equipment, and support from experienced farmers fueled the success of the hog farm. Word spread, reaching the once smug neighbor. The thriving farm, both thriving and symbolic, irritated him daily. In the end, the hog farm not only brought financial success, but also served as a satisfying revenge. Can you imagine the neighbor's face seeing a thriving hog farm every day? That's the kind of poetic justice we all secretly crave. The success of the farm isn't just financial, it's a sweet victory that leaves the neighbor regretting their past decisions. It's like karma with a side of bacon. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.